Carol, you want to give me a sound check real quick? Do you see the mute button?
Mute. How about now?
Yep. I got
Okay.
it.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to leave you at the kitchen table for a while.
Okay, and I'm just gonna hit mute on here. I just wanted to get everything set up and open so that if people started showing up. That it's
All right.
all-
All right. Thank you, dear.
Hey Carol. Just FYI, you may want to, you may want to turn your camera off just
Okay.
until we get started.
Okay, thanks.
These are set to automatically record. I think we can edit it. We'll edit out this stuff from here, but
There's nothing to worry about at this point, but I'll turn it off now. Thanks, honey.
Come on, Shelley. Marcia, just FYI, I just made you a co-host, so you can mute and unmute yourself as you need to.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
This is George Sleeper doing a sound check.
Sounds good. We got you, George.
Thank you.
Seeing a C. Morris. Is this Doug from Compton?
Did you see where the new proposed fish cleaning station is? I see it mentions it, but I don't ever see the drawing.
let's see. I thought my understanding was, I just want to ask Brad when he gets on here, is I don't see it. I was thinking it might have been contained inside of the, but it's not.
It's not. That's item 4 on the background. So finally, place existing bathroom fish cleaning station at the western corner of the parcel, a larger bathroom building that will include a new fish cleaning station, outdoor barbecue pit.
I'm seeing a C. Morris on here. Is that Doug from Compton?
Close. This is his uncle Charlie from Bursch Building Systems.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thanks. Amy, I see your hand raised. I just made you a co-host.
I got it now. It's all good. It's letting me now. It
Okay.
just was telling me I couldn't turn on my video or my microphone. I thought maybe you were mad at me.
No. Brad, Clark, and Griffin, I just made all three of you co-hosts, so you guys should all be able to unmute yourselves as you need to.
Is my audio working there, folks?
I can hear you, Michael.
Wonderful, thank you.
Whether I want to or not, but I really do.
Mine was a guilty conscience. I thought maybe people had muted me already and didn't want to talk to me.
No, I think they had you set out in the outside room for a while.
It would not be the first time I was put in timeout, just gonna tell you.
Well, I understand there's appetizers and cocktails out there in that meeting room, so in the waiting room, so that's not a bad thing.
We definitely did not go to the same waiting room then.
Trust me, I'm looking at a washer and dryer in my waiting room here, so. Oh, so fancy.
Well, I'm still in my office, 7 o'clock at night. Here I am. It's kind of like been there, done that. Day 400,000. I don't know.
That'll embarrass him? Okay. Okay, his mom won't say hi to him because that will embarrass him. We won't do that.
Nick, I saw you just popped in. I just made you a co-host, so you should be able to unmute yourself and use your camera as you need. All right, so we've got everybody here. Looks like we've got about 1 minute.
Yep, 7 o'clock.
There we go.
All right, 7 o'clock. I'm gonna call the planning commission meeting for February 4th to order. And then we'll do the roll call. And who's Marcia here or?
Yep.
Yeah, so Marcia,
Gruber,
Clark,
Here, here,
Larry Heinig,
Here,
Todd Heinrich,
Here.
Michael Neese,
Here,
Amy Nichols,
Here,
Rosalie Placati,
here,
George Sleeper,
Here.
Janice Barney,
here,
Tim Stegman.
here. Next up, we'll do the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion. This is Clark to approve the agenda.
Rosalie will second.
So moved by Clark, supported by Rosalie. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, Marcia, if you'll call the roll again.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes,
Heinig,
Yes,
Heinrich,
Yes.
Nice,
Yes,
Nichols,
Yes.
Bakati,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Did I say minutes or agenda?
Agenda.
Yeah, but. Okay. All right, next up is the meeting minutes from January 7th.
This is Rosalie. I'll move that we approve the meeting minutes from January 7th, 2021.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a correction. If I could bring that up, perhaps Rosalie would incorporate my correction in her motion.
Will do.
Okay,
On page 7 of tonight's packet, which I believe would be page 3 of the minutes, the paragraph, which the second, I believe it's the second paragraph, which starts out with my name. There's a citation there of an item number 4, which I think is an incorrect citation. For clarification purposes, I think we should include section 1404 in front of the parentheses 4. And then the italicized quotation there should be deleted. And I would insert this wording, which I believe is the way I stated it. I took portions of the 14044 that we're applying just to the discussion and worded it this way: the type, dimensions, and character of screening and buffering shall enhance the use and value of the abutting waters. Those are my corrections. I have sent this to Marcia and to Travis, so they have it in writing, should you approve that correction in the minutes.
So should I reword my motion or withdraw it and start again?
well, is that what you said, Larry, or did the transcription, was that was incorrect from the meeting? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, yes.
Okay, so Rosalie, I think the motion would be to approve the minutes with the caveat that Larry has sent a communication to staff about correcting paragraph on page 3. And as long as when they look back at the was it on video or audio?
Yeah.
If it matches, then to go ahead and correct it.
So moved.
Okay.
This Heineck, I'll support.
All right. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote again.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes,
Heinrich,
Yes.
Nice,
yes,
Nichols,
Yes.
Bakati,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Next up is item 5. Interested citizens in the audience will be heard on items not on the agenda. Is there anyone in our audience that wishes to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda?
If you would, and you're looking to speak, please use the raise hand option. That way I can tell who's looking to talk.
I don't see.
Hello?
Anybody. Oh, Brad.
Hello, this is Joe Ashen, and they told me that when this segment, item number 5 came up, I should speak up. I'm not on Zoom, I'm on the telephone. I've had some issues with my computer and I tried to fix it and I just made it worse. So I'm talking to you on my telephone.
All right, Joe,
And,
you have 5 minutes.
Well, sir, I have distributed to every member of the Planning Commission my proposal for my property at 270 Baseline Road. an engineering drawing, an architectural rendering of the modified yurt, and a letter. And I am wondering if there's any questions from anyone on the Planning Commission or any further discussion at this point. And there was some confusion, I think, last meeting. I didn't realize that you were going to discuss it. I was not ready. I wasn't even in town. I had meetings in St. Joe. And but if you've read the letter, you can see what I'm proposing. And I'm wondering if there's any questions or comments at this time that I could address.
Well, what I'll tell you is that we looked at not your project, but the yurt concept, and the planning commission decided not to take any action unless you or someone else submitted a request. So
Okay.
I would, even though I know you sent the packets to everybody, this really isn't the place and time for a Q&A. So what I would suggest you do is just talk about your project and what you'd like to do. And that's about all we can do right now, is listen to what you
Okay.
have to say.
Okay, appreciated. I purchased this property about 5 or 6 years ago. I grew up on Webster Street. I'm very familiar with this property. I knew the family that owned it all my life, and actually a lot of those trees on that property I planted when I was about 10 years old. When I had the chance to purchase it, I purchased it with the idea of keeping it in a natural state. And one thing led to another, more thinking, more looking into it. And I thought what's getting very popular now in the United States is the concept of these yurts or small houses that are people looking for a place that's kind of not a hotel, not a condo, something quieter. And my idea was to have an organic farm, organic permaculture garden, have yurts. And it's a beautiful property with large trees, a stream going through it, and I wanted to preserve it the way it is, and do something like what I'm proposing. I don't see it as a big impact on the neighborhood. I've talked to some of my neighbors. Some of them are in total agreement with me. Some of them are not. I am discussing this with them, and if I can't bring all my neighbors into alignment with me to do this, I won't do it. Because I'm a lifelong, my family goes back here over 100 years in South Haven, and I don't want to create any problems. But I do think that with people looking into this, they'll see that it would be a very good asset for the city of South Haven, and and it would keep an open space, and it would be a natural open space with with its natural beauty intact. And I have a lot of trees. I have some exotic trees. I have even a California redwood that is growing on the property, which I've had people come from Michigan State University to look at. So that's my idea. Now, I suppose I have to submit a proposal. I guess I'm trying to find out as much as possible the interest or the negative or the any adversity to it at this time from the city or from the Planning Commission. And if you feel that this could be something that could be an asset to the city, I'll move forward with my plans and submit my plan to the city. And I suppose this was just a preliminary look at it and to start a discussion. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them at this time.
Okay, thank you, Joe. What I could say is the Planning Commission really can't take any action on this until you do an official proposal request.
Okay.
So
Okay.
At that time, the Planning Commission could ask questions of you about it. And that's about all I can tell you at this point.
Okay. Well, I'll do that, and I'll get a proposal into the Planning Commission and go from there.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for
Thank you.
checking in this evening.
Thank you for your time, sir. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on items not on tonight's agenda? Is there any hands? I don't see any. Okay. All right, let's move on to old business, which there is none. I say that tongue in cheek because we do have items 9 and 10. So new business, item 6, 1201 8th Avenue site plan review.
So this is item 6 in your packet. What this is a proposal that we've received from Compton, looking to expand their current building by 1,784 square feet. Now the zoning ordinance requires us in the I2 district, any expansion of an existing building of more than 20% of the existing has to be brought to the planning commission for approval. So that's why you're seeing this item here tonight in the packet. I believe we've got a couple of representatives from Compton and from Bursch Building Systems here that can help answer any additional questions that anybody has. But like I said, in summary, this is an addition to the building that's gonna go off to the north, kind of toward the DPW building. The use for the addition is going to be additional storage space for Compton.
Okay. Anybody from Compton want to add anything to that initial description of this project? No? Okay. Does the planning commission have any questions or wish to make a motion? George?
I'm ready to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposed expansion to the existing building at 1201 8th Avenue.
This is Nice. I'll second that.
Been moved by George, supported by Mike. Any other discussion points? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. Marcia?
McCarty,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
yes,
Heinrich,
Yes.
Nice,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Okay, so that passes, and nice work on the site plan review. All right, item 7. This is the 410 William Street site plan review. You covering that one too?
I'm gonna turn that one to Brad.
Brad?
Thanks, Travis. You did do a good job on the last one, by the way. Thanks, Tim. Greg Wycamp of Edgewater Resources has applied for a site plan review to construct and repair existing dockage at the South Haven Yacht Club. This construction also includes the redevelopment of an accessory bathroom structure located at the northwest corner of the property. The Yacht Club and Edgewater Resources submitted this application to raise 6 finger piers along the western seawall of the Yacht Club, which is adjacent to the city's south side marina. These piers are all 35 feet long and they're not to be altered in size or location. They presently have 8 existing finger piers that lie along the northern seawall of the property that abut the harbor's navigation channel. And those 8 piers are planned on being removed and replaced with 6 brand new piers. No 2 of these piers are going to be the same because the actual bank of the river there kind of bends around. So these pier lengths are going to range anywhere between 55 and 34.5 feet. A dinghy launch hoist is also proposed at the far eastern end of the property upriver of these piers. And also they would like to replace an existing bathroom and fish cleaning station located at the western corner of the parcel with a larger bathroom building that would also include a new fish cleaning station and an outdoor barbecue deck/bar. This accessory structure will be barrier-free and ADA compliant. And I do believe there are members from both Edgewater Resources and the Yacht Club here to answer questions from the Planning Commission.
Okay, is there anybody from the yacht club that wishes to add anything to the introduction that Brad just went over? Did he miss anything? Okay. All right, does the commission have any questions? And I guess we could kind of go at this one at a time out of the 4 points. So the first one, do you have any questions about the raising of 6 finger piers? Item 1 on this background summary on the memorandum. Okay, we can circle back if you think of something later on. Number 2, removing 8 existing finger piers. Any, Lee? We're gonna unmute you here in a moment. Okay, go ahead, Lee. Lee, can you hear me? Lee, are you there? All right, so we'll go back to item 2, remove 8 existing finger piers. Does the commission have anything for that one? Okay, next up, number 3, a dinghy launch hoist. Any questions on that? Okay. And then finally, number 4, the replacement of an existing bathroom and fish cleaning station. Clark.
I just had a quick question. I don't think they're going to be, besides sushi, I don't know what kind of fish cleaning is going to be going on with that new facility, but the entire project looks very impressive and fits within the scope of the water lines and stuff. So I appreciate the completeness of the packet. That was my question. I didn't think they were going to continue to have fish cleaning there. And as a private organization, they can have that or not have that. But it's a nice looking project. That's it.
Question.
And just before I call on anybody else, I'll segue on Clark's comment. When I'm looking at the plans, and this would be for either Lee or Jack, it says in the document here, that would include a new fish cleaning station, outdoor barbecue deck, and I'm looking at the plans. I didn't see the fish cleaning station, so is there not one in the plans?
So this is Jack. I don't know how to raise my hand, so I apologize for that.
That's all right.
But I'm the Commodore of the club at this time. There's not going to be a fish cleaning station in this area that we're talking about. There's going to be one somewhere on the property. It's for the members that do fish. Periodically, they do clean fish for their own use, but we've got one there now. It's going to be moved. We're not sure exactly where we plan to put it at this point. But it's just really a small table and some running water is what that is.
Okay. Well, I know there's also a grinder involved with that, so that's why I was asking what the current plan that's in front of us. I didn't see it, so. All right. All right, who's next? Rosalie.
Yeah, hi. It does look like a nice project. I'm just curious on the liquor thing, because there'll be a bar. I know you don't have to I'm assuming you don't need another liquor license, but are you confident that you can secure that liquor when it's not open?
This would be Jack again. The answer to that question is twofold. One, the club does have a license and you do need one to have a second beer in the outdoor area.
Oh,
And the club's had that license for several years. They just haven't made use of it. But that's a really good question. And as far as, yes, there's going to be what I would call a shutter that comes down and is locked when the bar is not in use. And there will be limited alcohol behind the shutter, but it won't be, it's going to be fairly small in scope, but it will be locked up for sure.
all right, thank you.
George,
Yes, I also agree that I thought the proposal was good and a very complete package. Brad, in your staff report, you talk about the commission may feel it necessary to ask the applicant to explain any plans for installation or removal of any existing landscaping at the development site. In Brad, in your review, does it look like there's going to be a lot of loss of green space? Is that what your concern is?
No, I really wasn't concerned with it. It does not appear that anything is really going to be removed too much. It does appear that, you know, there are lawns and trees in the area anyways, and that from speaking with Michelle from Edgewater, it doesn't seem that much of that will be disturbed. I just felt if there is any questions further that the commission might want to ask either Edgewater or the Yacht Club, that they may wish to do so.
Thank you.
Todd.
Yes, I see Lee's hand up, but he apparently can't speak. I don't want to speak for him, but I did have a conversation with him about this. In general, it seems as though the work that they're doing relates to the replacement, relates to damage that's happened from high water and on the docks, the fingers that are upstream of the club. Most of the surrounding work area has been upgraded, but the fingers themselves are narrow, wobbly, and really not up to modern code and safety. So a lot of this is safety and repairing and replacing things that are either worn out or have been damaged by the high water. The raising of the docks is one of those things to get them. If you've been down to the city marinas, you'll see that all of them have been raised similarly. So I think if Lee was here, he might say something like that.
Well, this is Jack. I would go further and say the supports for those docks have actually been damaged by the high water. And it's a safety issue at this point. Besides raising them, we also have to make sure we improve the integrity of the structure underneath them so that we are sure that they are safe.
Michael.
Yes, I thought too it was a very, very well laid out plan. I just wanted to add a commendation to it as well. My primary thing when I first read this, having been through the last major improvement of the Yacht Club when I was on the board there, I really commend that parking was considered. Parking is at a premium at the Yacht Club, and it's so nice to see that there's going to be a net no effect on the parking. You'll lose one, but you'll gain one. I was glad to see you considered that.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, one item, Jack, I was wondering about, and we had, the planning commission had to go quite lengthy on this one, and it had to do with the Maritime Museum with their plans. And so being this is a new outdoor bar area, quite a distance from the clubhouse, when it comes to, I know the club could probably, they have private parties, they rent the clubhouse, they could probably rent this bar separately. And hours of operation and type of noise generated, because we know there's some condominiums next door. What are the thoughts on hours of operation of this bar?
Well, at this point, no decisions have been made concerning that. It would coincide though with our normal dining hours. And so typically that winds down around 10:30 in the evening. But we have not, the board has not set that schedule at this point.
Okay. And the reason I bring this up is because it was a topic that the planning commission talked about at length. And I don't know if you want to do something similar in this situation or let it go. And if we get complaints, if we go back and look at it later, or council will. Just wanted to bring it up now rather than later.
Well, I assume there's an ordinance concerning noise and there's a time frame on that. We'd certainly follow the ordinance, whatever it may be. I'm not familiar with it, but I'm sure there is one.
Well, there's the normal bar closing time, but there's also some things that were put on the Maritime Museum that were above that. Mike?
Tim, I'm really glad you brought that up because that was a concern I had as well. But what mitigated my concerns was if the drawings are accurate, it's a question of scale. You know, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seats at the bar, another 10 seats at tables. So it's not like there's going to be a wedding party there. I would guess that's just not even feasible for that size of that thumbprint that they have there. So that kind of took away that concern a little bit from me.
Rosalie?
Yeah, and along that line, so this is a question for Jack. So you own that property, it's private, it's a private club. When you have big events inside the yacht club, do people typically spill out and walk around? Do they stay on your deck? Or would that kind of just be another bar, like at a wedding, you know, when you have 2 bars or you know, a big event? I guess that would kind of reflect with what Tim was saying, that, you know, the condos are next door, and, you know, I don't know if you've spoken with them about this or whatever, or let them know. But, and plus, you know, as the city's looking at a social district, all these things are kind of in play right now with open liquor and walking around.
Well, let me approach that from your last question first. I think the Condos Association is aware of it. We've had some discussions with them. As we improve the west dock, which are the ones that we're going to raise, which are really in front of the Condo Association, if you will, there's some water issues of water coming from their property that we're trying to work with them to try to understand so we can resolve them, because we plan to improve the look of that area. And because right now it's kind of an eyesore, quite frankly. And there's been some erosion in that area, and we plan to shore that up with some stone. That's part of the proposal and part of the plan for that space. So they are certainly aware of what we're planning on doing. As far as the use of the outdoor bar and the use of the club for events, during events, the experience and the way we try to manage them is that participants in the event stay in the clubhouse or on the decks on either side of the clubhouse. It doesn't spill out into the parking lot. This outdoor bar will not be used for those special events. In fact, the plan, one of the reasons we want to do this is when there are special events, if there are 10 or 15 or 20 couples that want to come, we'll have a little grill area, which you'll see in the plans. They'll be able to go to the outdoor bar and socialize there, and they won't be excluded from the facilities in total during special events. So that's one of the reasons the membership is in favor of this. And another I would add is, we think with COVID, we're going to need more outdoor space, certainly this summer, and this is going to help us a little bit. The deck, what you've said is pretty true about numbers of people. It's the surrounding deck to the bar is 28 by 28. So it's not huge, but it's large enough probably to accommodate 20 to 30 people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Yes, Mike.
One quick one, Tim. So from my understanding, will this be available to yacht club members during regular hours of operation? I mean, if I want to wander out and have my cocktail and watch the boats come in?
Yes, it will,
So
but
it's really,
it won't be available for special events for the people that attend
okay,
events. But the members will be able to utilize it whenever it's open. And those days and hours have not yet been established, but
absolutely.
we'll do that responsibly, of course. I mean, we're not going to irritate the community in any way. I mean,
Yeah.
not what we're going to do.
It's kind of an expansion of the existing deck to me, is the way I look at it. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I
in
see it.
some respects, I think that's right. Yeah.
Todd?
Yes. If the club hasn't changed in the last few years, it has what's called a club license, where every member's name is on the license, and they can't serve the public. So it's a very different license than other public things. If somebody has a wedding there, the member is the sponsor and has to be there, and it's a very restrictive license, and the club doesn't have a lot of leeway on what they can do. I'm sure the person comes in and reviews what they're doing. The state authority comes in and reviews everything that they do, and it's kind of beyond the scope of our planning commission, I think, and how the club uses their liquor license, because it's a pretty restrictive license. Just my only comment.
And I would agree with you. It is a restrictive license, and it's pretty extensive. There's probably 5 or 6 pages to it, but it is very restrictive. And the club follows it, because otherwise we jeopardize losing it, which would not be a good thing. So, yes.
Yep. And I'll also add, I was involved with the yacht club obtaining their latest liquor license. And part of the reason the club is fenced in completely now is the new license allows open carry on the entire property. And that's with the fence and that particular liquor license. And that was all a development due to the Queen's Cup coming to town. So the club could be used as the finish line party area. And so the club still holds that entire license.
Sure. And I would add, and Tim, I think you know this, but if the club wants to participate in an event like that, we have to go to the liquor commission and make them aware of it and fill out some forms and pay them a small fee so that they know that we're doing that.
Yep. And then big events like that, you still have to get a special event request from the city. So it would come if there's a large gathering like that. So.
Absolutely.
All right. So unless there's any more questions, I'll entertain a motion.
This is Clark. I'll make a motion to approve the site plan for the South Haven Yacht Club Improvements Project at 410 William Street. And to include the 4 recommendations by staff.
Any support?
Okay, it's been moved by Clark and supported by Larry to approve. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Marcia, if you please call the roll.
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Licati,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Heinrich,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. All right, good luck, Jack.
I just want to take a second to thank the Planning Commission for your interest, and thank you for your support. It's truly appreciated. Thank you.
And before you go, Jack, how's the weather?
Well, I'm down in Florida right now, and it's about 65 degrees and very, very, very nice. I'm returning there, but not for another month. So I'm very fortunate.
Better than it is here right now, I'll tell you that much.
Very fortunate, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, the exciting one we've all been waiting for. New business item number 8, the 2021 short-term rental snapshot report.
So this is the report that's required by ordinance to be presented to both the city council and the planning commission at the beginning of each year. What this report does is it's twofold. A, it provides a lot of information for both the planning commission and the city council regarding the current state of short-term rentals in the city. But what it also does is sets the number of non-exempt business certificates that will be available for the coming year. In summary, we're working from the 2019 census numbers, which are the most recent. That's required by ordinance. We currently have 3,502 housing units within the city limits. That is the number that we start from when we work toward what the denominator in that formula is. Further breakdown of those 3,502, of those, there are currently 57 units that are included in the PUDs that are excluded right now from the 1-to-4 ratio. There's 626 attached condo units that are currently excluded from the 1-to-4. That leaves us right now with 2,819 units that the 1-to-4 ratio is currently based on. Now, the number of non-exempt business short-term rentals that are currently allowed is 564. The number of non-exempt business short-term rentals as of January 4th of this year was 319, leaving as of January 4th of this year, 245 business non-exempt certificates that are available. And so that's the number as it currently stands. The report goes into further detail. If you take a look at the map, they see on page 57 of the packet, you'll see a breakdown of essentially the levels of saturation in the different areas of the city. I think this gives a good overview. I think it obviously taking an aerial look pretty clearly shows where rentals are more highly concentrated. And then if you work your way to page 58 and 59, that goes into a more detailed breakdown of each individual area as well. I guess what I would do now is just turn it over to the planning commission for any questions that folks have on the report as it's included in the packet.
Mike?
Yes, just to help me understand the data here, Travis, on page 58, it says registered short-term rental units comprise 14.3% of city housing units. That's exempt and non-exempt, correct? PRE and non-exempt permits, correct?
That is, yes.
All right.
And one thing I think it's always important to emphasize to folks is whether exempt or non-exempt, any home that is to be used as a short-term rental still goes through the registration and inspection program. And so that's one thing that I think we always want to continue to emphasize, because I think sometimes there's some confusion on if you're considered an exempt, are you exempt then from the other restrictions or the other requirements that the non-exempt homes go through, and they're not. So
correct. Yeah, I asked that, Travis, because it's, again, our prior discussions, and it's logical that it has gone this way. We keep using numbers, and we're so used to talking about business short-term rentals now, we sometimes forget that's only part of the population of our rentals in the city. So it doesn't represent our total number. So that's why I question that data. Thank you.
George?
Yeah, question. I see we're using the 2019 US Census American Community Survey. Is that different than the US Census, or is it, what is that based on? When will 2020 numbers be available? Any idea?
So my understanding is we'll see the 2020 numbers at the very end of 2021. That was when the 2019 figure became available. And I think, if if I recall, as we were putting the report together toward the end of December, the beginning of January, Ryan Bosher, who does yeoman's work helping out with this, actually pulled the 2019 numbers. They came out quite late in 2020. And so we ended up kind of going back and editing some stuff in this before we got it ready to bring it to city council.
Travis, any idea how the 2019 census numbers changed from like 2018?
In terms of housing units in the city, we don't have that number included in the report. I can find that number for you. And I can send you a comparison of that.
Probably when we started this too, so back to 2018, because we had a number for that year as well.
Yeah.
Was that it, George?
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Who's next? Clark.
Yeah, one of the questions that I had, and I don't know if this is further down in the report, am I allowed now to ask about the maximum capacity, or is that something we should wait until we're in that section?
No, you can go ahead.
My only question is 8%, which is not quite 10%, but pretty close, are undefined. And I guess I'm wondering if we're letting people have licenses and we're really undefined the number of people who can stay there, then from an occupancy perspective. I just didn't know what that meant. That was just one of my big questions. And it looked like we also had about 41 properties that got infractions, but everybody sounds like pretty much complied. They did later comply, which I think is okay because nobody really got a fine, which is great that we get that kind of compliance.
Yeah, and so I'll take the compliance portion first. We have a couple of ways that we identify non-compliant properties. The first is would be from calls from residents who may suspect that someone is operating a short-term rental that does not have a license, or information that we've come upon. The other way that we get those homes is through reports that we get from host compliance, which is the monitoring service that we use. Now, one of the little caveats to the data that we get from host compliance is a number of the units that they will identify for us are not necessarily always located within the city limits. So we've had them report homes before in the surrounding townships that, again, that don't necessarily apply to us. So we do include the number in here because it's data that we have available. But I do always want to caution everyone that I don't always think that what we get from them is always completely accurate. And if you want to ask Carol a little bit about it, she's on here to talk about the compliance piece. Additionally, we've had really good success, I think, at once a non-compliant home is identified, making contact with the homeowner, and then getting compliance, and that, whether that be by having them register for the program, get their home inspected, and then issue a certificate, or if that's them simply no longer renting. We've had compliance be achieved both ways. And I think we've had really good success with that. And that's why you'll see that last year there were no citations written. But I think that hopefully is a pretty good job of addressing that portion. The undesignated bedroom portion of the occupancy breakdown, that's another one I'm gonna defer to Ryan, and I'll get information from him tomorrow. My understanding of that is that's information that was taken out of BSNA. And so whether that's a record keeping issue or if it's just information that wasn't included when something was entered into there. My understanding is that those rental certificates were added into BSNA without the number of bedrooms attached to it. So that's something that, if that's the case, and like I said, I'll go back and work with him on that. We can go back and we'll basically pull the paper files and go do a comparison and make sure that we get the records updated so that they're accurately reflected.
I think, Janice, did you still have a question?
Yes, I do.
Okay, we'll go with Janice and then Amy.
Just to refresh my memory, did we put a cap of the number of rentals in each of these statistical areas? I remember we had a big discussion on that, but I was just trying to refresh my memory on that.
I don't believe that any specific area has a cap on it. Nick, you might be able to help me out a little bit with that. There is no cap on a specific geographic area of the city. That cap is just an overall citywide cap. Am I correct on that, Nick?
That's correct. It was just an overall cap. You know, we looked at that at one point in time, but went with an overall just citywide.
Thank you for the clarification.
Sorry, Nick, you were muted there.
Sorry. Right, but yeah, what's been said is correct. Just one cap.
Okay, is that it, Janice? Yes, I see. Okay, all right, Amy.
Okay, so I know that there are outside the area rentals that, you know, outside the city that we are being included in some of these numbers. Are we talking 2 or 3? Are we talking 15 or 20? And are we wasting, or are we using staff time to kind of keep track of those? What happens with those? I'm just kind of curious. I haven't seen those reported anywhere.
You're referring to the homes that are identified by host compliance that are.
Yes.
Okay. I might ask Carol. Carol, I'm going to ask you for a little bit of help on this one. Because these are ones that you deal with, I think, on a daily basis. So just have you unmute yourself.
I am. The ones that host compliance report seems to be real difficult information to get to. So basically, I would say when I have spare time, I do the same thing that they do. In the course of a full day, I don't spend a full day doing it, but let's say 8 hours, I might find 2 or 3. I reach out to the homeowners and they immediately respond to me. And it's been an odd year. Things have slipped by. They don't know their certificates have expired. They didn't know they weren't supposed to be advertising without the correct certificate stuff. So everybody complies and everybody takes care of business and they do what they do. 9 out of 10 people have responded appropriately and everything's good to go. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. I was looking more for a number. Like, are you having to track these down every single day, 15 or 20 of them, or no?
No, I would say, yeah, if you want 20 is a really good number. I would say at least 20 of them are outside the city limits. They're not even in my area. We don't have anything to do with them. They're just there. They are reported incorrectly as numbers that I take care of.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And I would say,
thank you.
Homes that are reported outside the city limits are fairly easy to identify. Normally, township homes are going to have the 5-digit addresses. And I mean, if we get that kind of information, those are things that we simply don't have to follow up on because they're not in the city.
Awesome. Thanks.
Tim, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Just following up on Amy's, I think if I understand Amy, I have the same concern. It's not about compliance as much as it's the integrity of the data we're working with. And, you know, I certainly would hope that we would put the efforts, maybe we're using the wrong source. If we can't count on those numbers being accurate as being city properties that we're counting into our database or we're dealing with, I think that's an issue. And I think just from a management, if we're going to engage in this kind of enterprise in the city, then we need to make sure that we do so in a proper way, dealing with proper data.
And I agree. And I was more about the, the fiscal responsibility of spending city time on township rentals. I mean, it's nice of us and it's lovely, but I also know that, we don't always
We
have
don't
to
spend-
manage someone else's.
No, we don't spend any time on it at all. I don't spend any time with whatever's going on in the township. I am on VRBO looking for addresses that sound familiar. All right, I check my database. Oh yeah, they did have a short-term rental agreement with us. It has expired. I contact them. The next address, oh, that looks familiar. It's on the township. I don't go any further. Go on to the next one.
That's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Todd,
Yeah, I think it's great that we track this, and I'm thankful to Carol and staff for doing this. These are the easy to identify costs, direct costs. What I'd be interested in, and it's probably I know it's out of the scope of this meeting, but I would think it was something we could think about in the future, is to track indirect costs of short-term rentals. We all have friends and relatives who used to live here, whose houses are now short-term rentals. Everybody from doctors, lawyers, dentists, janitors, teachers, homes that are now empty for 6 months out of the year. No one in those houses, there's zero economic activity for at least 6 months out of the year. It's millions of dollars in economic losses that this community suffers from these homes. Mostly for the benefit of people who don't live or vote here, who would never serve on this committee, who don't buy any groceries for 6 months out of the year. They don't go to the dentist. They don't go to a doctor. They don't go to an accountant. They don't get their car repaired. These are economic black holes in our community. I'd like us to look at what the indirect costs of short-term rentals are to South Haven.
okay. Anybody else? I have one. Oh, go ahead, George.
Yeah, I just found one more question I had. So this is on page 61 of the packet. It talks about some full-time residents who, with no intention of renting, have opted to register their homes, believing doing so would increase their resale value. That is registering them as short-term rentals. And I guess I was under the impression that when a home gets sold, that it wouldn't necessarily transfer the rental certificate, wouldn't transfer to the new owner automatically. The new owner would have to basically reapply for that short-term rental certificate. Am I mistaken in that?
No.
You are not. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's it, George, in the ordinance, it's a non-transferable. That's the way it was written.
So perhaps
Says it
maybe
right.
Go ahead.
maybe it is a communication issue then to folks to make sure they understand that, a short-term rental certificate that they own would not necessarily guarantee a new owner a short-term rental certificate.
So I think the issue is that in terms of the cap, they actually are assuming that they can still pass inspection. They do. You're correct. They do have to reapply for it would be a new permit under the way the ordinance is written, but they are guaranteed to get that permit. Basically, the permit, the ability to get the permit runs with the land, and can be, it is a benefit to the future owner unless the property is not rented for a period of a year. If it's completely not rented and not registered for a period of a year, then that permit goes back into the pool. And then if there are no permits available, a subsequent buyer would not necessarily be able to get the permit. Does that make sense? So you do have to go through the process again, but the permit's kind of sitting there reserved for you to get it if you do so within a year after the transfer.
All right, thank you, Nick, for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Rosalie?
Yeah, if I could just add to that, that is the attractive part if we ever get close to that top cap. You know, that there's a hold on that one number for them and when we hit our 400 or 500 it is. So I do know people that are doing that and are saying that. I'm not sure they always know they have to reapply, but I'm sure the city takes good care of that.
George, what you said something about going with the next house automatically. It says right on the certificate that it does not transfer automatically. They're supposed to contact City Hall when there's a change. And in the beginning, we did have people getting a certificate just because realtors were telling them, get it, it'll go with the house. Maybe out of the hundreds that we have 3 that are still doing that. It's not anything they do anymore.
All right, very good.
Mike?
If I can follow up with Carol, just to, again, for some clarification. However, it's different. I mean, some localities are very upfront about saying that the permit goes with the owner, not with the property. And that when there's a sale or the owner dies, that permit goes automatically back into the city coffers. We're different than that. Correct? I mean, we still allow the new buyers to have an opportunity to reapply under the old permit.
Right. If so, you know, like I have people in a panic coming to me. All right, I'm buying this house, but I have got to rent it to pay my taxes. So as soon as they're done with their closing, they're at my window or starting the next process for them. But then other people say it's okay if you're purchasing it. The certificate is not in your name. It doesn't transfer to you, but get your application to me and we start the process with you.
Sure.
Does that answer
Thank
your
you.
question?
Yes, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Okay, anybody else for now? All right, I have one minutia question. And this will be first, I guess, directed to Nick and then staff. And when you look at our ordinance, and I'm referring to page 73. So section 1743, short-term rental business units, and it has ABC down to D, which is the annual allocation process. And if you go to D2, it says annual staff report. On or before January 15th of each year, beginning January 15th, 2019, city staff shall prepare an official report, including the following. And then I want to draw your attention back to page 54 of the agenda, which is agenda item 8, 2021, titled 2021 short-term rental snapshot report. So my question, and I don't know if it really matters that much, but in the ordinance, it says the annual report, and agenda item 8 is called the snapshot report. Is there a difference?
No, this is intended to be the report that satisfies that requirement. I think staff stuck that name snapshot on there because we're basically looking at the data in one date of time.
Okay.
I can't remember what the date they use, but they use the same date every year. And it's supposed to show you exactly what the numbers are on a specific date and time.
So going forward, I would suggest we would call this the short-term rental annual report for this period of time.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, if you would. Because snapshot kind of seems temporary when it's not the whole report, maybe subject to change.
Yeah, that's not the intent, but the title change makes sense.
All right. Like I said, it was just a minor item for better clarification. Okay. So unless there are any more questions, I think we've got a few people online, and I could open it up at this time for public comment on this report, if there is any. So If you're a member of the public and wish to comment on this report, now'd be the time. Just use the raise your hand button. I don't see anybody. Nope. Okay. Nope, what's that? Still don't see anybody. Do you? No. Okay. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to, I believe this one's just an accept the report. And we.
I make a motion. Whoops.
I was gonna say, and use the term annual report.
All right. I make a motion that we accept the annual report for short-term rentals.
This is
I'll
Janet,
second.
I second.
Whatever.
Okay, it's been moved by Mike, it's supported by Janice. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, Marcia, please call the roll.
Heinrich,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Flaccati,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes,
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
yes,
Stegman.
Yes. Okay. New business item 9. Titled Short-Term Rental Capping Formula Discussion.
So I'm going to turn this one over to City Attorney Nick Curcio. He's going to walk you through the draft ordinance that he's put together for your discussion tonight. And then obviously what we're looking for tonight is any recommendations or feedback that the planning commission has to give. So I'll turn it over to Nick.
Sure. So there's been some discussion over the past few months, both during planning commission meetings and at city council meetings about kind of an opinion in the community that there are some dwelling units that cannot realistically be used for short-term rentals, but are still incorporated into the short-term rental capping formula. And that kind of discussion has taken a number of forms. There's been a number of different types of housing units that have been discussed. The two that come up the most frequently are apartment units and then subsidized housing units through the South Haven Housing Commission. At a meeting about a month ago, the city council discussed this issue again and directed the planning commission or directed staff to come up with a proposed ordinance to amend the STR capping ratio to exclude those units both from the numerator and the denominator, with kind of the thinking being that the capping was really intended more for single family homes within single family neighborhoods that can realistically be rented, whereas these units typically cannot be. So staff, particularly Ryan Bosher, has worked to identify these units and come up with language that kind of accurately describes them. So there's no ambiguity as to what we're talking about if we were to exclude these units. And we also have some numbers here as to what this would look like if incorporated into the current ordinance with the current numbers that were presented in the annual report. So let's see, there are 42 single-family dwelling units subsidized through the Housing Commission. Those would come out under this proposal, both of the numerator and the denominator. And there are 344 dwelling units in what we would essentially call large apartment complexes, that being apartment complexes with more than 12 dwelling units within a single building. Now, the reason why that kind of more than 12 language was chosen, just from a staff administration standpoint, where staff was much more confident in identifying apartment complexes of that size as opposed to any apartment complex in the city. Because if you had any apartment complex, that would include duplexes and things like that that are potentially more difficult to identify. So with those numbers, we've provided a revised table, and basically the bottom line was that there would be 168 new registrations available if this amendment were to be implemented, as opposed to the 245 that are currently available under the current ratio as stated. So as you'll see in the packet, starting on, actually, the packet I've opened does not have the draft ordinance in it. I believe that there was a draft ordinance that was in a packet update. I'm not sure, I don't have that in front of me, but the language is fairly simple. You can see it in redlining if you do have the draft available to you. It basically just adds, yes.
It's page 73, C and D for the commission.
Oh, I see. Okay, it comes after the council minutes. Okay, thank you. Yes, I see it. So you'll see in the red text, basically adding to the list of exclusions that already exists in the ordinance. As you'll recall, with the ordinance already excludes attached condominiums and then dwelling units within certain PUDs, specifically Sherman Hills, Maple Gate, Woodland Harbor, and Everett Park. This would just add two additional exclusions for a total list of 4 exclusions from the formula. And that's it. So the council asked the planning commission to discuss this concept and to recommend recommend whether or not to proceed with it.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Anybody have any questions, comments? Michael, then Clark, then Rosalie.
Nick, I was very pleased and pleasantly surprised with the legalese. This is so simply written and so practically written. I do think it captures the weeks, if not months, of discussion that we had. I know, for instance, the council, there were some people that were opposed to the 12 limit on apartments, but I think this kind of walks the line down the middle there. And after all the work we've done and just those 6 or 7 lines, I think you've done a nice job of capturing it, and I'm pleased to see the revision.
Thank
you. Okay, Clark?
I concur with the calculation of lowering that number. Just from the standpoint, we've got those places that weren't allowed to do any short-term rental. And I think then their 4-to-1 gets thrown into the pool that is allowed to do that. So I think that changes the density. So I think this is a good thing. I'm glad they want us to look at it, and I certainly support it. Thank you.
Rosalie?
Yeah, I want to say thank you. I know I've been a pain in the butt about all of this for a couple months now. So I want to thank the staff for going through that. And I think the nice part of all of this, should there be any blowback from anybody, is that there's still plenty of permits available. You know, in an imperfect world, it could have been where we were at a cap. We would have had to consider attrition. We would have had to really work on this. So for all the reasons that there are less rentals and that there are available rentals, and I think staff laid that out for us nicely too, between COVID and people not wanting to pay the fee and all that other good stuff. So just want to say thank you, and I won't be bugging anybody for a while. Thank you.
George?
Yeah, question on the large apartment complexes. So we're talking about types of dwelling units that cannot be realistically used as short-term rentals. So I understand the subsidized housing, those apartments. What other kind of apartments are we? So like, for example, the new apartments at Center Street there, those apartments would be excluded, but it would seem to me like you could have short-term rentals in those apartments, or the same with the Hale Street development, the Hale Building development. Those would be apartments that I think would be excluded, but you could have short-term rentals there. And I'm just wondering, did we make our exclusion too broad by including these apartments?
Right, so you can theoretically have short-term rentals in apartments if the apartment owner allows the tenants to sublease apartments. Some owners do and some don't. The city doesn't have a great way of identifying that, which has kind of always been a difficulty when this conversation has come up. So the language here, you're correct. The language here does capture all apartments, regardless of whether the landlord would let them be used as short-term rentals or not. There's not really a good way around that. I think as a practical matter, most of them probably aren't. I don't think there's many that are registered. I don't think there's many apartment complexes that are registered with the city, is my understanding. But you're theoretically correct that some apartments can be used as short-term rentals. They're not deed restricted or things like that.
I have a question, Nick. I thought when we did the 355 center, as part of that development, didn't we put a caveat on there that they couldn't be short-term?
You're correct on that one.
Okay.
There was a tax abatement, and in the tax
Right.
agreement, which I
Right.
think lasts for 12 years, they are not allowed to do short-term rentals, and that has to go into the lease agreement with each tenant. But once that is gone, theoretically, they could have the ability to sublease, and then they could get short-term rental permits. Just practically, I don't think it happens very often or at all in the apartment complexes that are in the city.
Okay, anybody else? Larry?
I think we're losing track of the way we set this in the first place. We looked at what the housing units were. We kind of all fixed in our mind what the maximum was that we would accept. We picked that 1-to-4 ratio as a way to calculate. And then we picked the number of housing units that we could work with, a relatively simple formula. That was not a mistake. There was no errors made in calculating. That was what we chose to do. Now we're starting to tinker with that formula, and we're making minor changes here and there. It's getting more and more complicated. And we picked the number to start with, 1-to-4, and we're just making minor changes to it. I think we're making wasting an awful lot of time and giving staff an awful lot to do that's really not necessary.
And I would tend to agree with you on this one, Larry. I was a little disappointed that this came our way, especially when 2019 was the launch year. 2020 was pretty messy just because of the situations. And I still think the whole process is rather complicated for calculations. And as you know, I've always been in favor of using that census number of available units in the entire city and putting a number on that by percentage or ratio and not having all these different classifications. So I agree with you. Anybody else? George?
Yeah, one more question I have, and it's got to do with the proposed ordinance. And I see we added C and D for our additional exclusions, but then we also added another thing in the next paragraph that talks about dwelling units shall not be counted or denominator. Further, such dwelling units may be registered as short-term rental at any time in accordance with the chapter 10 of the city code. And then there's provided that such registration shall not be construed as an indication that the short-term rental of the property is in compliance with private bylaws, rental agreements, deed restrictions, or other privately imposed covenants. So I'm just kind of curious, what was the genesis for adding that additional wording in there?
So this is an issue that's come up from time to time when as the city will issue a short-term rental permit to someone who qualifies for one over, under the ordinance, and then neighbors will come to the city and say that it is illegal for other reasons not related to the city's ordinance. So for example, a private deed restriction. The city's taken the position, and I think rightfully so, that it can't enforce private restrictions. So, for example, this happens in PUDs. I think a PUD or two in the city does not allow short-term rentals, but if the home otherwise qualifies for a permit, the city has to issue it. It's then up to the neighbor and the homeowner association to seek remedies to prevent the rental of that home. The same would be true in an apartment type situation. If they're a private lease, the city will have to issue permits to apartment owners who apply for them. But if the landlord, for example, doesn't allow short-term rentals, then the landlord will have his own private remedies to prevent that. So it's just language clarifying that even though we have these exclusions from the capping formula, that doesn't mean the city won't issue permits to these dwelling units if they come forward. But the reason they're excluded from the capping formula is that they're not just likely not allowed for other reasons, not having to do with the city's ordinance, likely not allowed by the landlord, likely not allowed by private covenants and things like that.
So I guess I'm a little concerned. Are we getting in the middle of something that we shouldn't really be? I mean, can the city even have that in our ordinance and be okay?
Yes, so it's just kind of stating what the position the city's always taken on this issue. The city can only enforce its own zoning ordinance. It can't enforce lease agreements that landlords write. It can't enforce private deed restrictions. And this just makes that clear. Just because someone has a short-term rental permit from the city doesn't mean that they pass every other legal test. There could be someone else who has the ability to challenge their rental, a landlord or a neighbor with a covenant or something like that. It's more to extract the city from these disputes than to embroil the city in them. Because if the city started reviewing private covenants or having to check private covenants every time it issued a permit, that could be messy and potentially get the city into trouble.
Would there be a consideration on our short-term rental application, a checkbox or something that says the applicant basically checks that short-term rentals are allowed by their whatever homeowners association or rental agreements or whatever?
I mean, we could have that as a box, but I still don't think we would want to withhold a permit just based on someone's representation of that one way or the other.
Is that it, George?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, that was a great question and nice follow-up on that, Nick. I think that did need to be asked. All right, anybody else on the commission have any questions for the moment? All right, seeing none, I'll open up to the public for talking about this item 9. If you have a question, comment, raise your hand.
We had one.
Resident?
Yep, we've got somebody with the name Resident. We'll ask you to unmute yourself.
Yes, this is Mary Hasley, and I just have a comment about the last item discussed. I support adding a box for the applicant to check. I think if the applicant is misrepresenting to the city that they have the right to apply for this, but they actually do not, I appreciate the fact that you would not want to encumber the city to investigate, but I think that that goes to misrepresentation to the city by the applicant, and that would then hopefully minimize the expense that the landlord or other neighbor or association would have to incur to show that the person misrepresented their right to get it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I don't see anybody, so we'll go back to the commission. Anything additional, or somebody want to make a motion? Rosalie?
I'm ready to make a motion if there's nothing additional.
No, you can make a motion because we still have discussion after a motion.
Oh, okay. So I'll make a motion to amend the short-term rental ordinance, section 1743, to reflect the exclusion of certain apartment and deed restricted dwellings. Is that good?
Mr. Chairman, just a point of order, a point of understanding for me here. Are we being asked to do that? Or as I read the agenda, our
Right.
task was simply to discuss and pass along our comments in the minutes to the city council?
I believe on this one, discuss.
Yeah, so this was not a public hearing.
Oh, right.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was just a discussion too, but then when you asked for it, I thought I'd do it. So I'm cool.
So we need no action.
Rosalie, I had the same question. I just was wondering what our action should be post-discussion. You know, because they did want us to discuss it. So hopefully they'll just either take the notes. Do they want a straw poll on what their thoughts are?
So this one actually will need to be, is a zoning ordinance amendment. So it will need to be, actually have formal action by the planning commission. We just didn't get the notice in time. This directive from council came too quickly before this meeting for us to get the notice in the paper. So I think the thought process was to have a discussion, see if there's interest in this. Then if there is, put the notice in the paper for the next meeting and have formal action at that time. So I don't think anything is technically needed now. You could make a motion to receive, or we could just move on to the next agenda item, however you want.
Yeah, I think we're not gonna take action on it. I'm not even gonna do a straw poll, because I guess we can do that kind of discussion when it comes for official ratification. I think that the commission, if you want the current language being proposed to be altered in some way, if you're in favor of what's being proposed, but you think it needs to be amended or edited, now's the time to offer that. For those on the commission that would wish to strike it, I guess you just hold your peace at this time and wait for it to come back.
Sure. I guess, Mr. Commissioner, and pardon my naivety, but my question is more a question of governance. I was thinking we were at the point in process that we had done most of that work already, and we had passed along that work to the council. The council had their chance to look at it, instructed staff to come up with a proposed amendment. And I think the next action is, from my understanding, from a governance issue, belongs to them, not the planning commission. But
it's
again, I could be wrong.
It's only because there hasn't been a public hearing on this text at the planning commission level, and we just have to get public comment after notice in the paper is the only reason why we can't move forward right now.
All right, thank you.
For sure. Okay. So you've seen it, and now I guess you have to take it back to council and decide if you're gonna publish or not. All right, new business, item 10, short-term rental inspection and fee discussion.
So after the presentation of the annual report to the city council back in January, there's obviously some concern with the deficit the program is currently operating at, and then how the inspection process related to that. And so what I wanted to lay out here for the planning commission was a pretty detailed explanation of exactly what the inspection process looks like, who's involved in it, what the costs are to the city, and just basically to make clear what all of that means so that that doesn't get, the discussion doesn't get hung up on those items. So what I've kind of provided for you in the staff report is kind of from the moment the application for a certificate is turned in, how it's handled at the staff level, and then the different items that the inspectors are looking for when they inspect a home. And if you look at page number, it is page number 100 of your packet. I've included the checklist that's taken on each inspection. That checklist is summarized pretty well in the staff report, but we also wanted to put that document in front of you. In terms of what the cost is of the inspections to the city, right now the city pays Shays $125 per inspection. And that's regardless of the number of inspectors who go out on the inspection. That's a simple 125, and that's across the board. So I know there was some question, I think from the public at the last city council meeting regarding couldn't there be less staff sent to those inspections, and could that be a way to bring down the cost?
It's a flat fee.
It's a flat fee of 125, and so that's what I just want to really make clear to folks. Additionally, as we get beyond just the inspection process, as it relates to fees and the deficit that's being reported right now in the annual report, what I really want to make clear, and Tim's kind of already hit on it earlier, is when we're looking at the data that we've collected from 2019 to 2020, I really do want folks to remember that 2019's costs were, I think, substantially higher from an administrative standpoint than what we probably saw in 2020 and what we would see going forward. That just comes with what's required whenever you start up a major program like that. We have all kinds of items that have to be covered that aren't going to be covered in a normal year once that program is established, like putting together the forms, developing the filing system, just a simple inspection process that's been streamlined over the last 2 years by the staff that handles that on a daily basis. And then everything else is from the scheduling process, which originally was intended to be handled by the 5151 call center over at the police department, which is now basically Carol's purview. She handles that all over here at City Hall for us. Additionally, the program initially contemplated in the report from Bayer that's included in your packet 1.5 additional full-time employees to administer the program. Now, obviously, we're not going to have a half a person here doing that, but the program was contemplated with multiple staff running that program on a day-to-day basis. Right now, we have one staff member running that program. And so what I really, like I said, wanted to lay out in the staff report was the anomalies that 2019 presented in that it was a launch year, and obviously the anomaly that 2020 presented in what we dealt with last year with regard to COVID. The other item that I really want to draw everyone's attention to is where those numbers, where those administrative numbers are being drawn from. And they are being drawn from that report that Baird Financial, who the city contracted with back in 2018, when we were putting the program together. That comes from that report that they put together for us to do projections of what the 2019, 2020, and 2021 costs would be. So right now, that's our criteria that we have to go by. And those numbers, those percentages of staff time are included in the report that begins on page 101 of the packet. If you turn to page 107, you'll see the program expenses, and that provides a projection from Baird to 2019, 2020, 2021 projections. If you look underneath there at that source data, that explains the percentage of staff time that's devoted to administering the program. And like I said, I can't give you the numbers here tonight. I mean, I can't just pull numbers out of thin air. But I think it would be reasonable to take a deeper look at how much time staff is contributing right now to administering the program. Because I think it's likely that if a more in-depth look was taken and we're able to actually look beyond simply what we have to go by in what we were given by Baird, I think it's likely that staff time is probably less than what we're having to report right now, or what we're having to charge to the program right now. So that's what I pretty much laid out in the staff report. But certainly ready to answer any kind of questions that anybody has regarding the inspection process, or fees and costs of administering the program.
Okay, who has questions? Clark, then Rosalie.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I approve the original report as needed, and I know Baird was trying to just give us something to go with, but I truly think we're probably closer to break even, with 25% of the assistant manager and 50% of the zoning administrator's compensation in these numbers. Without the short-term program, both of those individuals are still going to be within the city and still would have been absorbed in what I would consider normal operations. So yeah, definitely it's just an allocation. It would be great to know what closer the numbers are, but I think all of these, when I looked at what the fixed costs with or without the program, most of these costs are still going to be here. So to say that it's losing money, no, I don't think that's the case. It's just how we're allocating it. It would be great to see a closer number to what's reality, but I do appreciate what we're trying to do, but certainly I don't think it reflects the true cost. That's it.
Okay.
So far.
Rosalie, then Mike.
Yeah, so I think that, and Travis, when we spoke, you explained a lot of how these numbers came to be, the startup program. But I guess what I want to say is, running at $100,000 deficit can't happen again. And whether we have to take a harder look on the allocation to this program and reduce that expense, or we're going to have to charge more for a permit. I don't think it's fair for the residents to carry that deficit. I know budgets are tight. I know that there's probably other places you'd like to spend your money, maybe more enforcement. I won't mention lifeguards, but what I'm saying is that $100,000 pays for a lot of stuff. So do we have, and following up with Clark has to say that, it's all going to be allocated, I guess, better or whatever, if I understood that. Do we have assurances, any kind of an assurance by staff that we're going to come closer to breaking even? I know we can't make money on this permit program, but losing 100,000 is pretty hard to acknowledge. So I guess that's my question. This year, do we feel that we're going to get closer to what we charge?
Well, I can't give you any assurances tonight, and I mean that's for two reasons. Like I said, when we come up with how that allocation was handled, like I said, we're still working from that Baird report. We can look at the numbers, and I think reasonably say that there's not as much staff time as what's being allocated currently being used. I can't make any assurances tonight that if you didn't do anything at all, that we would break even or we'd be within 10,000. I don't know that would be responsible of me to make a statement like that here. And this is why I think it's worth really, like I said, staff really delving into how much time really is being spent on this, because I think if we if we take a little bit of time and draw some, again, some maybe more accurate numbers, I think that we can maybe paint a little better picture of where things are really at. So does that answer your question?
It does. And, you know, since this is a large part of what South Haven does, I mean, tourism is our industry. This is a component of that, as accurate as we can be. Is it even appropriate to look at, I don't even know, like outsourcing this to run? Would that come in any cheaper? I mean, and I guess I could have done my own homework to find out if other municipalities do outsource this kind of inspection and staff time. Has that ever been even discussed?
That hasn't been discussed at the staff level. It's something that if directed, I mean, we could take a look at what those kinds of costs would look like. One other thing that again, I know I think I emphasized it in the staff report, but I kind of really want to drive home is we had a reduction of over 100 certificates this year that were issued. Now, the reason that number reduced, I mean, I can't sit here with any degree of certainty and say it was due to COVID singularly, or it was due to folks not wanting to go through the inspection and certificate process. I mean, I can't say what specific reason there is for that reduction in certificates. And in saying that, I also can't say that they're going to bounce back this year. But also remember, any amount of those that do, if there were things that were more 2020 specific, that would then allow for a bounce back, some of that money can be recouped right there simply by taking in more, by issuing more certificates in the coming year. So, and again, that likely doesn't cover the entire deficit. And again, I can't sit here tonight and say with certainty what that number will look like at the end of the year, just like I can't say with certainty the exact reasons why we're down that many certificates. But I think it's also something to keep in mind.
Okay, thank you.
Well, just one moment, Mike. Sure. Get right back to, I wanted to respond to Rosalie. I guess you could kind of look at this as basic economics, and we're running a registration business. And in any business, you know, you want to advertise and increase your market area. And the item we just had before us, it's a decrease of that market area. So unless costs are really tightened up to match how much potential income there is on that limited ratio, this number is always going to be in the red. There's no other way around it. And if it's being paid for out of the general fund, then that's the question George and his folks are gonna, on council, are gonna have to deal with. So, all right.
Well, hold on, but
I couldn't disagree with that more.
yeah, me too.
I'm a business person as well, and there is a cost to doing business. You know, by your same argument, we should not have had a utility rate increase, because my goodness gracious, why should we be responsible for what happened in those variables that you had to raise our utility bills? No, you know, the business environment changes. But what I'm hearing here is two separate issues. First of all, what Clark raises, I think we need to get to the bottom of very quickly. If these aren't accurate numbers, we owe the residents of the city an accurate number. What did it cost us to do these inspections? And by the way, if we can't do that, then we need to take a look at staffing up our resources. If we're going to get into short-term vacation rentals as a business in the city, we need to staff up for it. We need to be sophisticated enough to manage that portion of our city business. Now, if the numbers can be fixed, that's the first step. Travis, I really appreciate the work you put into this report, but I get a little worked up. It's not this board's, I don't think it's this board's job to oversee the management of city business. That's what we have staff for. I have no doubt they did their best. I have no doubt that they're going to learn from what we did. In many ways, our program is an outlier. I do suggest that we look for best practices. How's everybody else doing it? Yes, Rosalie, it doesn't take too much research to find out that there are firms out there that do this. But ultimately, it gets down to this. Somebody's got to pay for those inspections. And as a city resident, I am going to fight tooth and nail to make sure I don't subsidize the cost of somebody's business. You know, every year my cost of business goes up. I don't get to say to my supplier, hey, you know what? I don't think you're doing it efficiently. I'm not going to pay that. I have another option. I look for ways I can run my business and improve my margin by cutting my cost elsewhere. I can go to my sales or my property management firm and say, hey, you know, these fees are going up. How about you cut your fees you charge me to manage my properties? You look for other areas. But the last thing we can do is have any sense that you're asking a neighbor to pay to help the building next to you, which happens to be a rental, cover their losses through your tax dollars. That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. But I'll go back to my first statement. If Clark's right, let's do that first. Maybe we don't have a $100,000 shortage. Maybe it's only 30. But if it's 30, we still got it. It's not about how do we repeat this. It's about how do we recover that. We got to go back and get that money.
Okay, Amy.
So I agree with you, Mike. Yeah, if those numbers, that $100,000 shortage is based on Baird's numbers without a time study to attribute the biggest costs are salaries in here, without a time study to know how staff is spending their time, we have no idea what we're doing with these numbers. They're just being attributed the way Baird said they should be attributed. Well, I don't see Baird sitting around here tonight, so I'm going to go with the fact that they're probably a little different. That's my first comment. So yeah, I would like to revisit this again when we actually know where we're at with time and that kind of thing. I also, I'm going to lower my hand here, have a comment about outsourcing. I don't think you ever get a better quality product outsourcing to save money. I just don't think it's going to get us any better than what we have sitting here and our staff. I trust their decisions. I trust what they're saying. Yes, I question it, but that's just because I'm that kind of girl. But I don't think we're going to get anything better by outsourcing it. So I think we better get a handle on where the actual costs are first before we start even going down that path.
Todd?
Yeah, take a step back again. I think the reason we're struggling with this and we spend so much time and resources on this is we're thinking that this is the business of the city, and it's not. We're not in the business of renting single family residences to people. When I look back at the hearings and the public letters and the town halls, the people of this town, the people we represent, don't like short-term rentals in their neighborhoods. They don't want to live next to them. These are things that our constituents want us to discourage. It was 7 or 8 to 1 in the public comments when somebody went back over it.
Not to interrupt, but I'm going to, we don't have any constituents. We were appointed, not elected.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But keep going. I just wanted to raise that. I don't want you to put that out there.
I don't think we should be losing money at this. As Mike said, I don't want to pay for something that I think that this commission should be discouraging. We're jumping through all kinds of hoops, creating all kinds of laws and ordinance that other communities aren't, because they said, no, we're not going to do this. And they're not doing all this. And I understand the reasons are complicated. We were threatened with a class action lawsuit, and that's why we're doing this. But this is not a good thing for South Haven, and I don't think we should pretend that it is.
Okay. And then hang on a second, George. I want to circle back to Mike with his disagreement with my analysis. And I'm going to explain it this way. Let's say you only had 10 rental licenses allowed, but you have somebody on staff for the full year, and your 10 licenses are $500 each, so $5 grand. The person working for a full year costs more than $5 grand. So then that would dictate you'd have to raise the license fee to match what the person working on that would cover, right? So that's the point I was trying to make. At the current rate, you're not gonna break even, you're gonna stay in the red. So the number would have to go up by the numbers we're looking at. Now, earlier I'd alluded to why I was disappointed city council had sent this to us, and I think now's the time I'll say why I'm really disappointed, is because if you look at, I gotta find it now, page 77 of the agenda, and 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph down, it says a long-term rental would be any rental of more than 28 consecutive days and not subject to the regulations of short-term rental program. Now, when we last talked about this, we were talking about inspections. I was led to believe that since safety was such a huge issue, these short-term rentals are not safe. We got to have them inspected for safety. We had also talked about long-term rentals having to be inspected. And I would have rather seen the long-term rental talk come up before this talk did. So that's where my disappointment comes in. If safety is so important, why aren't we talking about the long-term rental inspections? So
sure,
I said my piece.
Tim, and please, I always respect your point of view. I think you're a good business person, and I learn a lot from you. But again, it's a practical decision you have to make. You're either going to run at a loss, or you're going to run at an overage. That's how businesses operate. I just happen to be on the other side of the coin than you that says, well, let's raise our fees, and you know what? If we charge too much, then we'll issue a rebate. You know, I think it's telling that the absolute last page of our packet for tonight, page 109, says this as the last point. We're going to set the business STR unit cost at 500 and adjust the base and adjust based on actual cost. So I go back to Clark's issue. Let's find out what the actual costs were, and let's adjust our fees back to those actual costs. It's as simple as that to me.
And the question is, does the planning commission need to come up with that formula, or is that?
Oh, good Lord.
And I would personally, I would think that's council's job, is to figure out how that number is going to be calculated, because they deal with the budgets. It's really out of our purview.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
And Mr. Chairman, could I say something in
Yeah.
regard to what you had said, please? I guess I disagreed in the way you presented that. And I'm just going to use the experience that I've had working in a preschool or a daycare. So that's another business where every hour is allocated, because it's a for-profit for the most part, and you can't lose money. There's no money to find. So, so say your ratio, you have to have a ratio of 4 kids, to a teacher. Well, if those 4 kids aren't there, you send the teacher home. There's no job there. And that's how you balance this so that you run at a break even. Now, I understand you can't just tell somebody to go home because there's not enough rentals to justify their salary, but there's got to be a way. So I see you raising your hand.
That's why you help.
But anyways, that's the only logic that I use when it comes to at least breaking even. So, and that's no criticism or judgment on the staff we have. I agree with Amy that I trust our staff to do a good job. I really do. And they know their business. So.
And Travis, with the initial, hang on a second, with the initial numbers, a good chunk of that was also attorney fees, wasn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
So I don't know, you take just on a cursory look, you take a lot of the attorney fees off for the launch. I don't know how much it comes down, but that would be one big savings, because you're not going to have all the ordinance and publishing that we had to do for both planning commission and city council. So,
sure.
Who was it that wanted to speak?
Me.
Okay, and then after you, Mike.
Okay, so I think you guys are wasting a lot of time until you get the actual numbers, because these numbers are based on 2017, 18, 19, and they're based on so much of a percent of it, this person's income and this person's 25%, and those people don't have anything to do with the program anymore. You need to know that. It's this person who says 25% of her income is, she says maybe 5%. And this person's like maybe 2%. And this person with the 50% is nothing to do with the program other than give me a nod once in a while. So quit wasting your time, move on.
And to Carol's point, I certainly understand that, but the issue becomes, if we're going to be in this business and have this be part of our business model as a city, we need to manage it professionally. That's not to say that we haven't, but it's to say looking forward, there are processes that businesses use on how to allocate hours back to a specific project. We haven't had to have that discipline because we haven't had 700 rentals. We do now. So we need to look forward to it, but we need to look forward from what we have done at this point, learn from it, go out and seek best practices, and just do better looking forward. So it's not a condemnation of what we've done. I don't think we're wasting our time, because I'll tell you what, if it's $100,000 again next year, you're gonna see some real fire go up in this community. Now, Tim, back to your point.
I won't allow it.
Tim, to your point, I agree. So we got a big chunk that's legal fee. And looking forward, that was upfront, if you will, upfront cost that won't be replicated again. But the fact of the matter is we still have to pay for what we already spent. I'm not sure Nick's gonna say, okay, you know what? That was in the first year, we'll do that pro bono. We gotta pay for what we've already spent. So looking forward, yeah, we might be able to, but we got to recoup those costs that we've already spent before we worry about how we adjust it next for the next billing period. You know, I don't have any problem as a business model with understanding that these rental fees, they could vary year to year. And I suspect it will be a sliding scale if we're going to do this accurately, because we can't make money off of it, but we damn straight can't lose money off of it.
Okay, any other commissioner comments before I open up to the public? George?
Yeah, I agree that based on looking at what the staff has presented here, I don't think we have enough information to try to make any kind of adjustment in the fees. I just don't think we have enough information. And I think the only reason this is being brought up is because people saw that $100,000 loss and a lot of alarm bells went off. And people said, well, that's not right. Well, I think what's not right is that how we're allocating the money to this program. And I think we need to get that fixed. I also just want to go back quickly to something Todd said. I don't think all short-term rentals are bad. I think there are some benefits to short-term rentals. And I don't think we should lose sight of that. I know a lot of families that go on vacation and really love the ability to stay in a house instead of having to rent a hotel room. And I live in a neighborhood that has a lot of short-term rentals, and that's a lot of what I see are families going on vacation and enjoying our community. That's it.
Okay, anybody else for now? All right, seeing none, anybody in the public wish to speak on this item?
See Matt out there, just ask you to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, how you doing? My name's Matt Weber, 215 Superior Street. I appreciate having the chance to talk to you guys about this. I also wanted to say thank you to Mr. Sleeper for his last comment that he made. We've been residents of Michigan for about 8 years now. Our very first summer, we moved here from Illinois. We went to South Haven on a family vacation, stayed in a vacation rental, fell in love with the city, went back every summer since, and are in the process of building a house in South Haven right now at 215 Superior. And the only way we can afford to own that house is to rent it out. And so we are going to be operating it as a short-term rental. I understand we're the enemy among several people there in the city. And it's disappointing every time I hear that, because I think that short-term rentals do bring a lot of value to the city. I think people disregard the additional taxes that are paid in property taxes because of the increased millage rates from the non-homestead. A comment was made before about millions of dollars of economic losses as a result of those homes being vacant for a period of time. And there are millions of dollars of property taxes that are driven because of short-term rental ownership. So just a few comments I want to make about that. I also wanted to thank Carol because she's fantastic. To her point of people banging down her door as soon as they buy a home and asking for the registration. I emailed her months before we even broke ground on our home, and she's been extremely helpful. But what I really want to talk about was, we haven't talked at all about the inspection fees and inspection cadence of any of the neighboring towns. So I haven't talked to anyone in any of those cities, but I did some simple Google searches. I looked on their city sites. And when you compare our fees to all the neighboring cities, it's vastly different. So I'll just walk through those for everyone's reference. So Saugatuck, they do an inspection every 3 years. Their total fee is $250. So if you break that out across 3 years, it's $83 a year. Holland, they do an annual inspection. It's $100 a year. Grand Haven, annual inspection, $40 a year. And St. Joseph, they do an inspection every 2 years, and it's $70 every time they do an inspection. So that's $35 a year. So of those neighboring towns, the highest is $100 a year in Holland. And ours is $500 in South Haven. So when we're talking about raising fees, I hope you can imagine that as a short-term rental owner, hearing that and seeing what the neighboring towns are asking of their short-term rental owners, that it's unbelievable that that would even be an option. It's got to be a cost issue. I can't imagine these other cities are operating at massive losses in order to run their short-term rental business. So I strongly recommend reaching out to them, finding out what they're doing. And as was recommended, looking at the costs, because if Carol's right, that 5% of a head is actually going into a category that's getting a 25% contribution, then it's not a fair assessment. And so therefore the headline coming out of all of this is that short-term rentals are costing taxpayers $100,000, which just puts more blood in the water for people that don't like short-term rentals. So thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Second one, resident, please state your name. Oh, trying to,
Unmute, I think.
There we go. Hi, can you hear me?
yes.
Hi, sorry, Mary. So just
Mary, what's your last name?
Hasley, just a couple comments. One is I do agree with the comments that have been said so far about making sure that the actual internal expenses associated with the report are accurate. It just doesn't seem like they've had enough information to ensure that those expenses are accurate. The other thing that came to my mind as I was looking at the expenses and information from a previous item is that it looks like you're charged for the call center, and it looks like you learn about unregistered entities, units from the call center. So if you're incurring an expense for the call center, maybe some civil infractions might be warranted to help offset the fee if you truly are losing money. Again, I appreciate the comments that Matt made, but just trying to look at ways to balance things a little bit better if there truly is a deficit.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else in the public?
I don't see anybody.
Okay. All right, so to move forward here, if I ask the commission, would it be fair to say that if we were to make a recommendation, the recommendation would be for city council to make a determination on which expenses are to be calculated and how they're gonna be calculated in order for them to true up the actual cost of the program.
Chairman, I would definitely concur. It's hard for us to look at increasing from 500 to 650, which is 33.33%, when we're looking at numbers which are just suggested allocations by the consulting company and doesn't really fall into any reality. So if we kind of had some real numbers, some real allocations to know where we're at, then I might be more comfortable, looking at that number, especially when you consider the number of long-term or short-term rental businesses that we have, and compare that with potentially we might have, 245 more. And that's the reality.
Absolutely.
Caller talked about Holland. Holland has 25. In 2020, they were at 17. So I know that they've got 7 more licenses in Holland. So it's really kind of hard to do apples to apples there. So I think we're doing a great job. I just want to know what that number is before I just willy-nilly decide to increase it. Thank you.
Let me go a step further, Clark. When we first started talking about the implementation of this ordinance, we said we're gonna need data in the 3 to 5 year period. And we're just starting the 3rd period. And like we said before, we had 2019 was startup. Last year was a mess because of COVID. So do we have the data we really need to average out to come up with a good number yet? I don't think we do. So the other option could be we say, we want to wait another year, 2 years before we can really make that determination. Or like I said previously, city council is going to have to figure out exactly what numbers they want to pull to come up with the formula.
Yep, you're right.
Oh, Mike?
Yeah, I like that approach, Tim. And Clark, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I think what's frustrating to me in listening to the conversation here is we're dealing with a lot of unknowns. And it's so very hard to make decisions based on best guesses. We have to remember that, again, I made this point before, but I hope we as a planning commission appreciate the fact that we're an outlier in this whole short-term vacation rental. If you compare us, I do spend a lot of time contacting other cities, contacting other communities. What are you doing with it? And Clark, you're quite right. You can't compare us apple to oranges on our inspection fees with communities that have 25 contracts. St. Joe's about 35, I believe. Ludington is restricted to 30. Traverse City is restricted to 100. I know Nick's working with New Buffalo. They're looking at 150. They even brought up Saugatuck. Saugatuck's at 180. So, I mean, we can't, our staff is going to be a little bit hamstrung by the fact that you can go look for best practices, but we're kind of an outlier. So we're going to have to be smart enough to come up with some real good accounting measures. And I know we got the smart people, we got the people to do it, but we have to be able to present to people numbers that are beyond question. Because $100,000, that's 2 city vehicles.
Yep.
So Tim, I liked what you said. I mean, I don't feel comfortable moving forward on making any adjustments until I know exactly what we're dealing with. And I know, the only thing I'm gonna alert city staff to is, that number might grow a little bit more because you guys might need some more resources to get this figured out. And we might have to bring on some people to help us with some accounting audits to figure out what's the best policies and practices to put in place so that we know we're getting a fair return. We're not making money off of this thing, but we're not losing money. Thank you.
Okay. All right, anybody else? Go ahead, George.
So I'm just looking at the report and it says at the bottom, page 77, it says, staff are currently reviewing the present program needs in contrast with estimated needs from the Baird report. those analysis were not completed in time to present at this meeting. And then in page 78, it's again talking about, again, this data will take additional time to be compiled. So I don't think even with city council, we just don't have enough data to do anything. And I think that we just need to wait for staff to get the analysis done to show what is really going on with these costs. Because I can't believe them.
Well, let me ask you this, George. City council received this report before the planning commission did. I didn't catch that meeting. So what was the feeling and why is it here?
Yeah, the reason why it's here is because people saw $100,000 deficit and said, well, there must be something wrong with the ordinance. And therefore, planning commission needs to look at the ordinance as far as the fee structure or the inspection frequency and make changes so we don't have $100,000 deficit. And now what I'm coming to realize is that we probably don't have $100,000 deficit, and that we still need, basically we need to go over the numbers and try to figure out where our costs and expenses really are.
Well, I think we could have $100,000 deficit due to startup costs. The question is, going forward, what are the actual costs going to be? Because there's a lot of costs that we're not going to incur again. That's a possibility.
Yep.
So I think we're, like I said with Clark there, that, you know, the next step might be, we need another couple years of data from this program to really make a determination on whether fees should be raised, stayed the same, or lowered.
Agreed, Tim. But again, the caveat to me is those numbers, if those numbers show that we did run at a deficit, we still need to recover those funds. We don't forgive them because we didn't have the data.
Okay, so you're saying
it's still a debt owed.
So you're saying raise them to recover, to true it up, basically, kind of like the utility does, to bring the cost back in line, so it's break even.
Somebody's got to cover that. Got to cover that loss.
Right, I hear you.
And I, as a resident, I'm not willing to be part of it.
Okay.
I pay my utility bill.
Okay. So now, is that enough information for staff to move forward with council? Do you think, or do you need more from us?
I think that's enough. I think, like I said, I think as staff, what we need to do is really, is work with each person who right now has a hand in administrating the program and really figure out exactly how long or how much time each day, each week, each year is being spent on administrating the program. So I think that's where we're at.
So, this year, maybe we'll see some more licenses. So where we saw they go down, maybe this year we'll see it go up. You'll be able to gather some more data for hours spent. Okay, very good. Anything else on this one? Can we release it?
Just real quick, Tim, just for Travis. Travis, might it be possible too along the road, you might discover that you're going to need some extra resources, some extra expertise to build this system, to build this accounting system. I see Griffin on there listening to all that's going on. I know Griff's background. Maybe he's a guy we can tap for a little help on this too, in terms of, what do we need to do to our accounting system so that we have a better handle on where our money's actually going. It's not at all criticism of what we've done. It's a look forward that says, what do we need to put in place so that we have absolute faith that those numbers are accurate?
Okay. All right, nothing else for 10. We'll move on to 11. Commission member and staff comments. Any staff comments?
Just wanted to, I know I mentioned it at the last meeting. I do not have a date yet for the final LEA shoreline protection meeting, I'm sorry, shoreline resiliency meeting. And so as soon as I have that, I will get that to all of you. And I know at the last meeting, we established a committee with Mike, Larry, and Todd to discuss that further. If the three of you are okay with the approach of waiting until we finish that last Leah meeting, I feel like that might be a good idea, and then we'll look at getting a meeting together to go forward with that.
And then also, any idea of anything in particular on tap for next month? Or not yet? It's
I
okay.
don't really know much.
Okay.
much yet.
All right, so I'm gonna look at the screen here and go from top down, left to right, and Rosalie.
Or just thanks for the discussion tonight. It was excellent. And it doesn't look like Matt's still on anymore, our new resident, but I was going to say welcome. And the only thing I was going to say, because sometimes I know when we discuss these things, people take a us against them kind of a thing, and it's not us against them. It's just looking at the ordinance, and that we do welcome our new people. And I'm sorry he feels that way. But anyways, Matt, I'm going to check out what you're building down the street.
Good. Larry? Unmute, yeah.
Back in 1930, there was a pioneering engineer by the name of Hardy Cross. Hardy Cross said, "The mark of an instructed mind is to be satisfied with that degree of precision that the subject matter demands." We cut a 1:4 ratio with an axe. We're now measuring residents with a micrometer. We need to get realistic at what we're doing. One other point. City Council is responsible for accounting and finance. We're sitting here talking about we need more information. No, City Council needs more information. We've told them some places to look. We shouldn't even see this again. That's all I have.
That was pretty good. All right, Mike?
Yep. Absolutely, Larry. I agree with what you just said there. Just real quickly, first of all, thank you for the open forum, gang. I know we can talk and disagree with one another, and it makes my day. I'm gonna do one more little advertisement for my favorite thing that I tried to inspire in you all a couple meetings ago. Please, I think it's worthwhile for you to take a look at pages 8, 9, and 10 of the Michigan Planners Magazine on tourism economy. They address exactly the subjects we talked about tonight. There are 3 specific things I would ask you to review. Number 1 is the table 2.1 on the positive and negative impacts of tourism as the city grows. I think there's some real good things for us to consider as a planning commission. The second thing is the consideration of the carrying capacity for tourism. I think what you're seeing here is we're putting some pressure on our capacity of a city to deal with the tourism economy. And most importantly, I'd like you to look at figure 2.2, which is called Doxey's Eurydics model of host irritations. And I would suggest to you, just to give you a little tease, that I think this city is falling into stage 3, and we better get on top of it. So thank you very much for, again, the conversation. And Travis, please, fine work you did in preparing us for this meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thanks.
Stage 3 sounds very ominous. All right, George.
I don't mean.
Go ahead, George.
I agree with everyone. I thought we had some good discussion tonight. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Janice.
Yeah, I want to thank Travis for the packet that was sent out. A lot of the discussion that we had tonight, I found points within the packet that helped me understand it, and certainly the conversation that was had today. So thanks for that. And I appreciate looking into a deep dive into the numbers as far as the inspection fees go. Thanks.
Okay, Todd.
Yes, there's a popular term called being woke. couple of years ago when I saw friends and relatives in our neighborhoods dealing with short-term rentals, we stopped using Verbo and in residential neighborhoods. We will not rent a house. We've encouraged our friends and relatives to avoid renting houses in single-family residential neighborhoods. It's a national movement. I would encourage you to consider it. Obviously, I feel strongly about this. I had a knot in my stomach this afternoon thinking about this meeting. This is my least favorite subject to talk about. It's something that the city has done to itself. We shot ourselves in the foot. And, you know, we're dealing with it as the best we can. I appreciate staff. Carol, it's nice to see you. Griffin, welcome home. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Yeah, and I will say this, Todd, you shouldn't have too many dots because we already took care of all the public hearings and that before you came on board. So you should have plenty of time to vote. Be okay about it. All right, Amy.
I just would like to thank staff and Travis for everything. I know this was a lot to put together and then a lot for us to sit and argue about. Sorry for that. But I do appreciate the fact that we can argue. And I just really want to say welcome, Griffin. So excited to see your face tonight. And I hope that your first almost week maybe has gone well. Are you in a whole week yet? So that's it.
Okay, next up is Clark.
And not only did staff do a nice job, I do want to give you a shout out, Chairman, of taking care of the yurt project pretty quickly. And I think that saved everybody here and the meeting. So thank you. And I can't wait to meet this new Griffin guy. He sounds like he might be a good addition to the city. So maybe we can do that at some point. That's it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so I'm actually looking, I want to see the yurt come before this commission, and I want to hear what the discussion is on it because it is gaining popularity around the nation. And I'm just curious to see if there is room or not for that type of structure in the city. So kind of looking forward to that discussion. Second, Nick, I want to say with your ordinance amendment, that was real nice how you did make it concise and you fit it in there. Good job, and you wrote the rest of the ordinance pretty much anyway, so it flowed nice is what I'm saying. So good job on that. And then to the rest of the commission, these video conferences, I think tonight it was pretty good. We had a good agenda to work with. Everybody participated, so that was nice to see, but I hope we don't have to do this much longer. The in-person meetings are a lot better. So, okay. With that, I think that's it, unless anybody else had any wrap-up item we missed. I don't think so. So, a motion.
This is Clark. I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
I'll happily second. Nice.
Been moved by Clark, supported by Mike to adjourn the meeting. And hey, not too bad, 9:19, and there's quite a few items on here, so just a little over 2. So very good. All right. Been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Marcia, if you please call the roll.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Heinrich. Heinrich,
Todd.
Todd.
are you there, Todd? Neese,
Todd, we're adjourning the meeting. You vote yes or no. And he's gone. Go on, Marcia.
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Spicati,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes, and with that, this meeting is adjourned. Good luck navigating the snow this week, everybody.